Alright, my name is Geoffrey.
My name is JR.
My name is John.
I was born in Uganda. When I was 11 years old, my parents moved to London. Did most of my education there, and then I moved to the States. And I've been here for about eight years now.
I was born in Saudi Arabia, moved to the Philippines for a few years, moved back to Saudi Arabia and stayed there for a couple more. Then moved to California and have been here ever since. Where I'm from is really from a bunch of different places.
I'm from Orange County, California. When I was 6 years old, my parents moved to Switzerland and eventually moved on to Russia, and we were there for about a year. And that was right after the Soviet Union collapsed, so it was a pretty unstable place at the time. And then we ended up moving back to California when I was 12, so about half my life had been spent overseas at that time.
No, I haven't. I don't even know what that really is.
No, I've never really heard of a TCK.
No, it's the first time. Does that make me special?
It kind of feels like I'm being labeled.
I mean, it feels good.
It makes you feel like that you're not the only one who went through that. I'm sure it happens all around the world, with the world getting smaller every day.
Well, it's good to know I'm not crazy, and when I don't feel like I fit somewhere, I'm not alone.
Explain this.
I always say I'm from London, but then I always have to say story. I'm like, but wait, I was born in Uganda.
I spent a lot of time in California, but I've also lived on the East Coast in South Carolina, and I do spend a lot of time kind of moving around.
I probably think I identify most in order the United States culture. Of course, the second one would be Filipino culture, because that's what I see when I get home. My parents will speak to me in Tagalog, which is like the main language of the Philippines, and then I'll usually respond in English. And we could have a long conversation, and it would go on like that. I guess it sort of makes it my own culture.
Now I have a daughter here. What is home? Is it America? Is it London, or is it Uganda? I don't know. I think I'm still working through that. I feel like this is home, but it's not really home.
I've always owned California as my home, but when I came back, I kind of thought I fit in, and then it wasn't until later that I realized that I wasn't like everyone else here, and there is a narrowness that I couldn't understand to the way that they saw life. I like getting into different cultures and being in new places, and the challenge that it brings, and California just isn't challenging to me in that sense.
Right now, I think London is home.
When I first came back to California, California's got its own culture, and being in foreign cultures and people in places where there are a lot of people mixing around together, you really appreciate the diversity of different people, and you enjoy that they're from a different place, and you kind of want to know about them. When I came to California, it was like it didn't even matter that you'd been anywhere else and seen different things and had totally different experiences, so it was difficult.
I think another difficulty that I faced, or a difference in culture, would be punctuality. The United States is a very time-oriented culture, whereas the Philippines is more of an event-oriented culture. It doesn't matter what time you showed up, and that's all that matters.
The first week we went to England, I got exposed to racism. I didn't know what that was. I'd heard of it, but I think that was the biggest challenge. It was racism, people calling you names or nasty things. I had to learn what those things were as well. I didn't know what they meant. I used to go home and ask my parents, hey, what does this mean? She doesn't know what it means either as well. My parents, my dad or mom didn't know what they meant. So we had to learn these things, like going ask friends what they meant, or read what these things meant.
I think when I was over there, the hardest part was just, again, not having people who understood me. Because, again, you're coming from somewhere new, you're learning all about it, and they may be learning about you, the people that are there. So there's a degree of loneliness and misunderstanding that you deal with, I think, as a TCK. You know that you don't fit.
Whenever I would visit the Philippines, they just know you're not from there. You're not from the Philippines, and you're just different.
The biggest insults will always be, hey, go back to your country, you don't belong here. I think that was it, you don't belong here, right? Because you know you're going to be living in, this is home for you, but it's not really home. Because people will always remind you, you speak different, you look different, so you don't belong here. And when I went back to Uganda as well, I spoke different. Everything was different. And I felt like I didn't belong home as well, right? Because my accent had changed. The way I conducted myself had changed. So it wasn't really home as well. So it was just, I think, a sense of belonging. Where do I belong? What is home for me?
To be honest, I think it was a great way of growing up.
I just got open to, to the world.
Oh man, it was the best. I learned to speak German as a child. I learned a lot more, I was a lot more independent, I think, than a lot of kids would have been. Just learning to deal with things on my own and not like relying on everyone else around you, but just kind of going, well, I need to figure this out, because if I don't, then I can't communicate, or I can't play with the other kids. But I think just perspective, more than anything, is what you get.
My favorite part about my upbringing was just how open I've become.
I think it's just the people, different cultures, different ways of thinking, being exposed to different things. It's been amazing.
I've traveled all over the place.
I have been a bunch of different countries.
I've been all over the United States, all over this continent.
Been to Mexico, Canada.
I've been into the Caribbean a good bit.
Through Europe, from Ireland, Paris, Germany, the UK.
I've been to Europe and seen a good chunk of Europe.
Asia, from China and Singapore.
I've also been in the Pacific, places like Fiji and Vanuatu.
And of course, gone back to the Philippines a few times.
Africa primarily is my favorite place. And in Africa, I've been all over East Africa, all the way to Southern Africa, so I've seen a good chunk of that as well. I get bored when I'm in the same place for too long.
I skipped like 3 continents: Africa, Europe, now I'm in America. I've been privileged to see, I've not seen the world, but I've seen a bit of it.
Well, when we moved out of Saudi Arabia, we knew we wanted to move to the US. We have family from the West Coast to the East Coast, and so we had a year where we just went around. We were in the Bay Area, New Jersey, New York, Southern California, and so really between those 3 places, we were going around trying to see where we wanted to live.
It's hard when you come back to just come back.
One of the places I would love to go would probably be somewhere in Africa, in South America.
I just want to go to like maybe Australia as well and try, not live there, but travel,
Next place I'm trying to go is the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and I imagine I'll be there. I don't know how long I'll be there, to be honest, but I'm not putting a time limit on it. The more mobile you are, the less connected you really are with some people. So I'm looking forward to actually just kind of learning a new place, learning new languages, getting to know new people.
Me and my wife like, traveling, but now we have a child, so, we have to calm down and just, and think about her now. It's not just about us. For now, we're rooted here, but who knows, in 10 years, wherever God leads.
And being away from home, like it's not hard for me. I don't have a hard time like being gone from wherever home is, because I just enjoy it. Where I think other people start getting homesick and lonely, it's like, where do I have to be homesick from?
My upbringing as a TCK allowed me to sort of adapt quicker to the culture that I'm presently in. On top of that, I've become accustomed to knowing that any slight phrase or gesture or sort of body motion may not translate the same way in another culture, so you just have to really be not only careful, but I'm a little more also open.
When I went to visit where we used to live, right, of course as a kid it was a huge place. When I went back, I was like, wow, this place is extremely small. How did we, a family of of 8, live in a room this big, you know? But we did, you know, because now I've been exposed to, a different kind of life, right? So my expectations have changed, my perspective of things have changed as well.
It comes back to how I see the world, and it comes back to how I take it in and what decisions I make based off of that, where I can't follow like the cookie cutter American dream or whatever that is. It just doesn't appeal to me. It's not what I know. What I know is going new places and things like that.
What you call problems in the Western world, or where I've grown up, I know problems in Uganda. That's helped me be more grateful, because I know that there's people in Uganda. I even have some family there that that don't have what I have, and I have more than enough. I have abundance.
I'm a big believer in finding out what other people do well and gleaning from that, and I think that's a big part of growing up overseas, is realizing that we don't do everything the best.
Definitely. I want to take her to Uganda. I really want to expose her to where I was born and how I was brought up, and to see how people live out there. And I also want to take her to England, and so that she can be exposed to that. But I want her to have the same experiences I've had, so that she could be well-rounded.
Yeah, I definitely don't want ignorant kids. One of the most painful things I get to watch is people who have no idea where other places in the world are, who other people groups are, or what's going on outside your area. As someone who plans on continuing to live overseas and to explore new places, I'm sure I'll have a family at some point that'll come with me, hopefully.
Take it all in and enjoy the ride, because really it's more of a positive. You do become a product of your surroundings, and just take in the best of what both has to offer and just move on that way. When you look back at it after a few years, take pride in that you're different.
Just be grateful for what your parents have done to expose you to different environments. I know it's hard, especially when you have to deal with where do I belong. It's challenging, but also that could be fun as well, right? So take fun in trying to find out who you are and where home is.
Remember it, think about it, and learn from it. There's a lot that you've taken in that other people have never seen or even fathomed. They'll have to go to school to study it, and they'll never know it like you do.